We're seeing a new escalation in the U.S. and Israeli airstrikes into Iran and Lebanon. These attacks are just being described as the most intensive since the war began almost a week ago. That is Beirut overnight. The Israeli bombardment began, and the Israeli military says a new wave of strikes are happening now. Israel says the suburbs to the south of Beirut are a stronghold for Hezbollah. It is the Iranian proxy force in Lebanon. Israel's economic minister, a far-right politician known for provocative messaging, is calling for devastation there on the scale of Israel's war in Gaza.
אחרי שצה"ל נתן הנחיה לכל התושבים מהדחיה להתפנות, רציתם להביא עלינו גיהנום, הבאתם גיהנום על עצמכם. הדחיה תיראה כמו ח'אן יונס, תושבי הצפון שלנו יחיו בשקט, בשלום ובביטחון.
The Israeli airstrikes are setting off scenes like these in and around Beirut. Aid officials warn up to 500,000 people could be on the move, jamming streets in an attempt to escape. The panic spurred by an Israeli military call for the entire southern region to be evacuated. There are also new evacuation orders for Lebanon's eastern Bekaa Valley. This morning, the United Nations human rights chief is questioning the legality of those orders under international law.
Lebanon is becoming a key flashpoint. I'm extremely concerned and worried.
Volker Turk is calling for both Israel and Hezbollah to end their fighting. Reporting from inside Beirut says at least 3 buildings have collapsed after overnight airstrikes. Lebanon's health ministry is reporting at least 123 people have been killed, 683 injured since the Israeli attacks began. Bachir Ayoub is the country director for Oxfam in Lebanon. He describes the situation right now as just panic.
It was a lot of panic yesterday. So the evacuation order for a large part of Beirut was issued around 2 p.m. There were plenty of colleagues and just people on the streets that were trying to evacuate that were in their cars for upwards of 6 hours in order to get home. We're talking about a very densely populated part of Beirut that received the evacuation orders. And as you said, there's still active evacuation orders for southern Lebanon and 2 regions to the east in the Bekaa Valley. So you have approximately 1/3 of the country under evacuation orders currently.
Where do they go, and what is available to them when they do leave?
I think it's really important to remember that we're still coming out of the previous war, which was roughly 14 months ago. The government has opened as many collective shelters as they have at their disposal. Agencies like Oxfam are operating to do the same. Currently, there's about 100,000 in collective shelters that are receiving aid. Others could be staying with family members. And unfortunately, a sight that we saw yesterday as a result of the evacuation orders are many people are sleeping in the streets. It's still pretty cold in Beirut, so it's a very heart-wrenching scene.
About 1/3 of the country, people who live almost anywhere in the south, and certainly in South Beirut, many have left. All have been told to leave by the Israeli military, and that is because of the airstrikes and the potential of a ground assault. We know Israeli tanks are in place. I just wonder what you have heard overnight, what you have heard this morning. Are you hearing the booms of explosions, for instance?
Of course. I mean, the airstrikes yesterday were quite severe. Beirut, I mean, it is the southern suburbs, but Beirut as a whole, in comparison to other major cities, is a fairly small city. So many people heard it as far away as north of the country as well. It's just panic right now. And quite honestly, there's a lot of fatigue. For many of the people that were displaced yesterday. This is their 2nd or 3rd time within 14 months being displaced. We have seen an uptick in violence, but it's important to remember that for the past 14 months, there's been operations have continued to happen, military operations have continued to happen, and people have had to flee at certain times, just not at the scale that's currently happening right now.